bulldozer levels a building in Granby, Colorado. Then another. And another. It's part of a meticulously planned citywide demolition project.
Man, I feel like a bulldozer went crazy.
But this plan wasn't put together by city engineers or construction workers.
Just received a 911 call reporting that there is an out-of-control bulldozer.
It's the brainchild of an angry man with a grudge against a lot of local people and businesses.
They can't tell who's driving it, but there is someone inside.
The man inside this armor-plated bulldozer is Marv Heemeyer. As horrified townspeople run for their lives, Heemeyer wrecks buildings and vehicles one after another.
So we do have a dozer that's completely armored and just tearing down buildings.
And he's ready to take on sheriff's deputies or anybody else who stands in his way.
It's a bad situation, guys. We might need SWAT team.
Heemeyer's an accomplished welder who spent a lot of time inside a secret workshop.
Yeah, it's all encased in metal, and you can't see who's driving or anything.
There, he outfitted the dozer with 2 sheets of half-inch steel plating with a layer of concrete in between.
What type do you need?
It's the biggest armor-piercing ammunition he has.
On this day, he seals himself in and takes off on a violent ride. Inside his cockpit, 2 assault rifles, lots of ammo, and video monitors to help him see where he's going. A bank, a hardware store, a concrete factory, even the town hall, and especially the police department. The one thing all of those places have in common, Heemeyer feels he has been wronged by these businesses or the people who own them. He even exacts revenge on the home of the town's former mayor.
He does have armor-piercing weaponry.
Deputies and SWAT teams try everything. But even armor-piercing bullets can't penetrate Marv Heemeyer's homemade metal and concrete shield.
Jasper now. If you want to try to box him in.
At one point, a heavy equipment operator decides to put a stop to the carnage. He climbs behind the wheel of his front-end loader and gets set to take on the armored bulldozer. But quickly, the operator finds himself in an industrial-sized game of chicken. Heemeyer speeds ahead, aiming directly for the blockage. Realizing his intentions, the loader attempts to flee, but the armored dozer gives chase. Ramming the tractor off its path, it steams ahead to its next target. Authorities seize the narrow opportunity, using the front loader truck to block the dozer in. The civilian operator hurries to safety. Forced to continue ahead, Heemeyer pushes his creation to the limit. The bulldozer grinds to a halt under the rubble of a steel building. Its engine has called it quits. As authorities try to get into the cab of his homemade tank, Marv Heemeyer takes his own life. It takes officers several hours and a cutting torch to finally get inside the cab. None of the townspeople are hurt, but the price tag on this rampage is about $7 million.
Sometimes a reasonable man must take unreasonable actions. Good morning. Happy Killdozer Day. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Yes, today is Killdozer Day. It just so happens that the Wake Up America Show can get you, if you're a fan of Marvin Heemeyer, for the reasonable man who had to take unreasonable actions after being boxed in, unable to expand his business. They wouldn't let him build a road to get out of his business. The town very vindictively used the government to shut him down. So he built himself a Killdozer. You can get Killdozer merch at forlibertyshop.com today in honor of Killdozer Day. Probably the most unique item we have. I mean, everybody has Killdozer shirts. I don't know. Which is more unique? Is it the Smells Like Killdozer candle that is the gentle and comforting scent of an armored Komatsu bulldozer? Or is it the Killdozer pillow? How comforting. Lay your head to sleep at night on an armored bulldozer. The Killdozer, get him at forlibertyshop.com. Some people praise Luigi. I praise Killdozer guy, says True Van Ruff. Exactly. Luigi killed somebody. Killdozer, man, he didn't kill anybody. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. We're glad and thankful to have you here. It is a monstrosity. Elon Musk calls it a disgusting abomination. The Republicans' big, beautiful bill. The White House is standing by the tax bill after Musk calls it a disgusting abomination. Musk and some Republicans oppose this bill's spending levels as Trump is trying to push for wider support. You love to see it. Standing with Rand, now the popular thing to do. I was with Thomas Massie the whole time. Senator Rand Paul making the... And this clip yesterday that I saw of Marjorie Taylor Greene now speaking out against it. She voted for an early version of this bill and then came out and said she didn't read it. Here's newsflash. None of them are reading it. This is why whenever somebody is harassing you, let's say you're like me and you're out there saying, hey, maybe take some time to read the bill. Maybe we don't need to, let's enact the Doge cuts, right? Trying to make the country a little better place than we found it for our kids. Whenever somebody comes up to you and is like, we have to pass the bill. You libertarians are just standing there. I saw Stephen Miller's in the White House yesterday. He said the libertarians in Congress are gonna be the ones responsible for your tax increases. It's like, well, you guys are the ones who don't read the bills. You're not reading the bills. Congress doesn't read the bills, and then they vote for the bills. They didn't read the bills, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene, bless her. Thanks for coming on the good guys' side. But she voted for the bill.
What do you make of Elon Musk criticizing the one big beautiful bill?
Well, I have to agree with him on one hand. I always love it when Americans are angry at the federal government and express it. I think that should have been happening for years now. I mean, we're in $36 trillion in debt for a reason. What the Biden administration did for the past 4 years is they spent trillions and trillions of dollars invading our border, the Green New Energy scam, and basically wrecking the economy, driving inflation so high that young people can't afford to buy houses and are losing hope in the American dream. Unfortunately, in the one big, beautiful bill, we had to spend some money to right the ship and pass President Trump's campaign promises, which is border security. I'll write those checks all day long to Tom Homan. Also supporting America First Energy. I think that's important to spend money on. And then, of course, making the president's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent. That is absolutely worth supporting and spending money on, because if it expires, we raise taxes by 60% on all Americans.
Well, what we could do is, instead of, maybe let's say it raises 60%. Let's say that they don't pass the bill in time and they raise the taxes on 60% of us. We could just do what, for example, the Trump administration is doing now when it comes to TikTok. So the bill was passed, signed by the president, the Supreme Court upheld it. TikTok is supposed to be banned in the United States. The president of the United States, using the power of the executive, is now supposed to follow through with the law and ban TikTok, right? It's the law. Have they banned TikTok? No, they haven't banned TikTok. They're not following the law. They're just not obeying the law. So here's what we'll do. We'll do what the White House is doing when it comes to the TikTok ban, and we'll just not pay the 60% extra in our taxes. We'll just won't do it. That's what we'll do. We'll just do what the government's doing. Just don't follow the law. And then you guys can pass the tax bills later. You could pass the 60% tax cut or whatever that we're going to get later. And then we won't have to worry about it. We'll just call it even Stevens. What do you guys think? Welcome to the Wake Up America show. So dumb.
But I want to get off of the Biden and Democrat CR that this government is currently funding on, and most importantly, I want to vote on Doge cuts, and I want to do that every single week. And so I'm really thankful to Elon.
I'm pretty sure. What was it, last week or the week before? And I'm pretty sure I read it into this show. I can't remember the exact quote, but Thomas Massie and Rand Paul have offered compromises, saying things like, I don't know if this is Thomas Massie's compromise. I know Rand Paul has offered a compromise. Thomas Massie's compromise was put the Doge cuts in there, put those in there, and I'll give you a yes to spending. It's not like Massie and Rand are saying no matter what, because I think Trump said last week, he's like, Massie's a no on everything. Massie is offering alternatives. Massie is saying, listen, you want my vote? Rand Paul has said that he doesn't want to raise the debt ceiling for 2 years. Okay, so then don't raise the debt ceiling for 2 years. Give Rand Paul, a year. Everybody's supposed to get something. What? The libertarians in Congress aren't allowed to have anything? Nothing? They get nothing? They're not supposed to be able to represent their constituents in Congress? They're not supposed to have a say? Oh no, we're supposed to let John Thune. We're supposed to let Lindsey Graham is supposed to be the only one who gets a voice, right? That's how the government works. It's everybody but the people who actually represent what a majority of the Republican Party wants, which is these Doge cuts. But you know what I just love? I just love this conundrum that we find ourselves in. Good word, conundrum. Because for weeks, Rand Paul and Thomas Massie have been taking 40 lashes with a wet noodle. Everybody, the MAGA supporters, all coming after them. The whole cult of personality coming after Thomas Massie and Rand Paul for trying to cut spending. And now Elon Musk steps up and says it's a disgusting abomination. And there was crickets yesterday after Elon Musk did this for a good, I will say, 2 to 3 hours. There was crickets after this tweet got dropped. Elon Musk calls the bill a disgusting abomination. Hold on, where's the tweet? I do have these pulled up for you so you guys can enjoy it visually. It's a visual show. It's a video show. He says, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination." He goes on, as if that wasn't base enough. "Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." Yeah. Get him, Elon. Get him. Wearing my dark MAGA hat in solidarity. You can get this at forlibertyshop.com. We do have bonus content for y'all today. Don't you love a little mini documentary? Today's is about guns. You're going to love it. Go to forlibertyshop.com. Buy yourself a box of Founding Flavors coffee or a Killdozer t-shirt or Killdozer pillow. Put your head on it. Go night-night. To unlock the bonus content today, once we hit $75 either in Rumble Rants or in purchases at the shop, you will get to watch the bonus content today. And you will want to watch the bonus content today because we have 2 guests, and that means 2 commercial breaks that could just be little mini documentaries, more fun than commercials, right? Right. Who do we have on the show today? No Judge Napolitano. Don't be mad. The judge will be back next week. He's fine, but no judge today. We'll have John Miltmore at 8 a.m. Central Time today. What have I been doing? I'm supposed to have Mondays with Miltmore. Where's your head at? We'll have him at 8 a.m. Central Time today to talk about Elon Musk's statement about the big, beautiful bill. We'll have at 8:30 a.m. today a special guest. I'm just loading up the Wake Up America show, a special guest for y'all. Jason Bassler to talk about the Palantir revelations. He's from the Free Thought Project, a journalist who's been doing a lot of research on Palantir's new potential database on Americans. We'll talk to Jason Bassler this morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a fantastic show. I hope you'll stick with us through the whole thing. But if you are looking for specific content, then just so you know, at 8 a.m. Central Time, we'll have John Miltmore to talk about the Elon Musk tweet. And then at 8:30 a.m., we're going to have Jason Bassler to talk about the Palantir alleged database. Dos Beckys is back. It's good to see you again, Dos Beckys. She says could rename it the Big Obese Disgusting Bill and the cronies would still vote for it. It's true. God! It's true.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Elon Musk says, shame on those who voted for it. You did wrong. You know you did wrong. You voted for it. Should be ashamed of themselves. You love to see it. You know who has no shame? You know who holds their head high in Congress today? This man right here.
Senator, when you talk about these competing factions, the 4 or 5 of you who want to cut spending versus the 4 or 5 of you who don't want cuts, what determines who wins out on that front? Because that's where all the handicapping is taking place right now.
intestinal fortitude, who has the strength of character to say no. And you have to say no in the end. You have to say no unless they will change the bill. And that's what I've said from the beginning. I'm open to voting for the bill. I'm open to compromise on the bill. I'm just not open to supporting $5 trillion. This will in debt ceiling increase. This will be the first time the debt ceiling's ever been increased by all Republicans. It'll be the first time that conservatives lose their moral high ground by voting for a debt ceiling increase, and not a small debt ceiling increase. This will be historically the greatest increase in the debt ceiling ever in our history, at a time when we're having trouble selling the 10-year bond. We're having interest rates at 5%. We also are having the interest payment over $1 trillion. Imagine what happens if the interest payment doubled. We're paying on average about 3.5% now. We were paying 1.7% on the debt. What if it doubles again? I think it'll be unmanageable. It'll crowd out all other spending. So I think we have to draw a line in the sand and take a stand here.
I bring this up because we had Senator Mark Wayne Mullen on yesterday, who's negotiating between the White House, the House, and the Senate.
That background noise is when they're interviewing the senators there in Congress. He's in I think the office building with the Senate office buildings, and he's standing out there. You're hearing all of that noise from the people who are outside because they're doing it. I don't think that's in the rotunda. Pretty sure that's in the Congressional office building. But there's all kinds of people walking around and talking, and it's very echoey in there.
On this and trying to keep everybody on the same page. Joe pointed out earlier, he brought up Susan Collins earlier, while he was talking to us about that. If they're giving kind of praise to her at this point, does that mean they've given up on you, thinking they're not going to win you, so they're going to work on that other side?
Maybe, but we're also going to have another inflection point right now. We're going to vote on a rescission package. I've been bugging the administration for months. They're going to send us one, a very paltry $9 billion. But this is the country's going to be able to view this. If those Republicans who cannot cut $9 billion, the whole country needs to know who they are and why they can't cut $9 billion. Because if we can't cut $9 billion in foreign aid welfare, the country's doomed. This is $9 billion. This is a rounding error. This should be something we should do every day. But that's coming up also. It's the same people who don't want to touch Medicaid, who don't want to look at Medicare, who don't want to look at Social Security, who don't want to touch any of the entitlements. They're the same people saying they won't cut $9 billion in foreign aid welfare. So push is going to come to shove on this. And I
love it. Thank you, Rand. So what is Rand Paul talking about here with this whole concept of the 10-year treasury? We're having trouble selling our 10-year bonds. So he's talking about a problem with how the U.S. government is borrowing money. The government needs to borrow a lot of money to pay for things like roads. Yeah. No, God! Even no matter how much we hate roads. Please, no! Schools, or even, like they say, tax cuts, right? To do this, they sell 10-year treasury bonds, which are like IOUs. People, banks, or other countries will buy these bonds. Basically, they're lending money to the United States, and in return, the government promises to pay them back in 10 years with some extra money, interest, right? So when Rand Paul says there's trouble, that there's not enough buyers, think about it like this. Imagine you're trying to sell your old phone, but nobody wants to buy it unless you lower the price. It's a similar situation with the bonds we're facing right now. If not enough people want to buy these 10-year bonds, the government has a problem. Now, this happened recently in some bond sales where fewer people showed up to buy than expected. So to get people to buy the bonds, the government might have to offer a higher interest rate, like a better deal. Instead of paying 4% interest, they might have to pay 5%. And that makes borrowing more expensive for the government, right? Kind of like if you had to pay more interest on a car loan. Higher interest rates also means things like home loans get pricier for regular people. So the interest rates, do we want interest rates for our home loans to go up? No, I don't think anybody does, right? But why are buyers hesitant is the question, right? People might not want to buy bonds because they're worried that the U.S. owes too much money already. The national debt is gigantic. It's an abomination, right? They think inflation might make the bonds less valuable in the future, and they have every reason to believe that. Other countries like China might not want to buy as many bonds because of the trade war, right? Or their own plans for their own countries. If the government struggles to sell bonds, this is a sign that people are losing confidence in how the U.S. handles its money. This could lead to higher costs for everyone. Think higher prices for loans, credit cards, even rent. Rand Paul, who's all about cutting government spending, is warning that this could get worse if the U.S. keeps borrowing too much. In short, Paul is saying that the United States is like someone who keeps borrowing money, but is finding it harder to convince lenders to trust them. If this continues, it could make it more expensive for all of us. If you want to dig deeper on things like this, you can check out treasury.gov or read like CNBC for the financial stuff. I read the Wall Street Journal every day for things like this. It's time for us to crack down on spending. It's time to take away the car keys and the whiskey from the teenage boys. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Don't forget, if you haven't already, click the like button wherever you're watching us. Give us a quick like and introduce yourself in the chat. We love to see text messages from our listeners as well. You see that phone number that's on the bottom of the screen, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 is the text line, and you can communicate with us anytime, night or day, at that phone line with a text message. If you have a question about any of your purchases at forlibertyshop.com, then you can also contact us there and we'll solve any of your problems. Stephanie and I are watching that, monitoring that thing 24/7 almost. Elon Musk says, but I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. We feel you, Elon. We are just as frustrated as you are. He says this massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. God, I love that. Talk dirty to me, Elon. Like libertarian porn. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. Well, Speaker Johnson, he doesn't quite agree. Here's what he said in response.
Yeah, let me say this. It's very disappointing. Okay, I've come to consider Elon a good friend. He's obviously a very intelligent person, and he's done a lot of great work. With all due respect, my friend Elon is terribly wrong about the one big beautiful bill.
Boo! I don't think so, Speaker Johnson. What kind of humiliation rituals do you think that they put these people through before they can have jobs like Speaker of the House? I feel bad for Treasury Secretary Bessent. I feel like he's a smart man who's been put in a difficult position, given an amazing job, but has to defend policies that he probably doesn't agree with. That's the impression I get from this man.
But I am also a realist. I'm a fiscal hawk, but I am also a realist. And the way to think about this is every $300 billion is 1% of GDP. And as the clip that you just said, or you just showed, where I said we didn't get here in a year, we're not going to get out of it in a year, that we have to bring this down gradually, because we want to do two things. We want to cut and constrain spending, and we want to grow the economy. And what Senator Paul is asking for or advocating for, I think, could cause a sudden stop in the economy. So, I'm a deficit hawk, but I'm also a realist.
You say it could cause a sudden stop. You're saying that this is too radical of to flip the switch like this, to cut. I mean, he probably wants to cut, a trillion or a couple trillion, right? You say that would be too dramatic.
Robert, a trillion would be 3% of GDP.
Yeah. And that would, what would that do? I mean, because I think he's a pretty smart guy. I have him on the show a lot. What do you believe that would do?
Well, look, what's important here is our debt to GDP. Yeah. So that if we don't grow, then we won't grow the tax base, and we're not going to grow revenues.
We're growing. The United States economy grew in last year. I think I saw a chart last week. It showed that the U.S. economy grew 1%. And guess what? Europe is growing faster than the United States. Do you know why? Tariffs. Boo! Sometimes you got to throw tomatoes at your own team. People are like, you're critical and all that kind of stuff. Like, do you ever go to have you ever had a shitty sports team and you go to the games because you love the team anyway. You want the team to succeed. You want them to win, right? They're the home team. You go in, but they suck, and you just see their manager sucking, and they're throwing crappy, and they're playing crap, and they're being. Do you ever just see your team, your favorite team, like the ball player? They're picking their nose in the field and all this kind of stuff. They're playing like it's little league games or something like that. And do you ever just boo your own side? Get off of your ass and get up and get up. Run the ball. Let's go. What's wrong with that? We can't treat the Republicans like that. We can't tell them to get their asses in gear. Play right. Yeah, there you go. Whoa, what do you think about that? Let's hear from you. Sound off like you got a pair. Only steers and queers come from Texas, and you don't look like a steer, do you? So that pretty much narrows it down, doesn't it? Watching Full Metal Jacket last night, as you can see. Good morning, pineapples. Looking very good and very nice.
Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice.
Hanging out with Relaxium McGroin, Drew Van Runkle, R-Volt24, LW78, Dad Bod Baboon, BB for Liberty, my lovely smoking hot, sweet, red-hearted libertarian Steffi, P for Liberty with Floby Tenderson. Haven't seen you in a while, Floby. What you been doing? Joni Rankin, hanging out with InJam77. Bruce Burtwhistle is here. Dos Becky's, Matt Unruh. All our friends are hanging out in the chat. Hey, everybody. Make sure everybody's click that like button, of course. We haven't started the Rumble Rant, the bonus content unlocking yet. How about $1 Rumble Rant? Why don't you drop $1 in the chat? Rumble Rant. Once we hit $75, that unlocks the bonus content, and you want to see it today. It's about the right to bear arms. You're going to love it. It's a little Lego mini documentary that once we get $75 raised, you unlock that bonus content. Since it's Killdozer Day, my recommendation to you is you head to the For Liberty shop. We have a whole Killdozer collection, I kid you not. If you go to forlibertyshop.com and you type in Killdozer in the search, it'll actually take you to the Killdozer collection. We're no longer selling the 3D printed Killdozers. Yeah, I know. People love those, but God, they are a pain in the ass to print, and then also a pain in the ass to put together, and then a pain in the ass to deliver. So if you got one, consider yourself one of the lucky ones. Those things are actually stinking limited edition now at this point. So the 3D printed Killdozers out of stock. Killdozer t-shirts, though, why don't you grab one? Help us to unlock the bonus content. I mean, how cool do you have to be to own a Killdozer pillow? You'll be the talk of the town. Everybody will say, wow, he looks like a reasonable man who did something unreasonable. He bought a Killdozer pillow at forlibertyshop.com. That'll unlock the bonus content. Support the Wake Up America show. Help to keep us live every 5, Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the Wake Up America show's schedule. We hang out here at rumble.com/AP for Liberty. If you're watching us anywhere else, then you're missing out on all the chat. If you go to rumble.com/AP for Liberty, that's the number 4, AP for Liberty, then you will find the chat. You'll be able to hang out with all the cool cats at For Liberty Network. If you go to rumble.com/AP for Liberty, you drop a comment in the chat. Everybody will say you're cool, you're awesome, you're a hero, just like John and KC, who dropped the couple of bucks in the tip jar. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Only $72 to go. Stan, are you guys still standing with Rand on the big, beautiful bill?
Welcome back to Squat. The Senate getting ready to start debating the House-passed reconciliation bill. Our next guest says the math doesn't add up, and he's calling for changes. Joining us right now is Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. Good morning to you, Senator. We were just talking to the president's son, in fact. What would it take for you to support this bill?
Well, the main thing that I object to is raising the debt ceiling $4 or $5 trillion. That's an indication that we'll borrow that much. It's an indication that we'll put the debt on the back burner. We'll have no more discussion of it for a year or two. And really, we're locked in a year right now where in March of this year, most of the Republicans, not me, voted to continue the Biden spending levels in March. So we're operating under a continuing resolution which originated as Biden spending levels. You remember Republicans saying, Bidenomics, Biden Biden inflation, Biden this, Biden that. Well, they voted for that in March. So the deficit here at the end of the fiscal year, at the end of September, will be about $2.2 trillion. I'm not for that, so I voted against the spending levels. But now they want me to vote for $5 trillion worth of increase in a debt ceiling, and I'm just not for that. That's not conservative.
So the question is, you know, when you look around the room and you look at your peers and colleagues, how many people do you think you have with you? What does this bill ultimately look like in the end?
You know, I think there are 3 or 4 of us. If there are 4 of us who want it to be more fiscally conservative, I think we can reduce the spending levels and perhaps separate out the debt ceiling as well. But it takes 4 people with courage, and 4 people with courage can make the bill into anything we want it to. Right now, there are competing factions.
Only 4 people. So it's him, Senator Mike Johnson. What about Senator Mike Lee? Is Senator Mike Lee with you? Does he have courage? Because I'll tell you, I haven't liked a whole lot of what I've been seeing out of Mike Lee these days.
There are 4 or 5 who don't want any spending cuts, and there are 4 or 5 who want more spending cuts. So it's who sticks together better and who has more courage to stand up and say no. I've said no for 6 months now. I said I will not vote to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion, but I'm pretty much open to compromise on everything else in the bill. I want to make the tax cuts permanent. I supported them in 2017. I think it's...
So why can't it just be 4.9999999 trillion then, and then you'll get Senator Rand Paul's vote?
The best thing we did for the economy. It's why the economy thrived in the first Trump term until it was shut down by the pandemic. So I do want the tax cuts. I want them to be permanent. I'm for a lot of spending cuts, but I'll compromise and get as much as I can. I'm just not going to take responsibility for the debt. The debt has always been a Democrat problem and a big government problem. Once this bill votes and this debt ceiling goes through, the debt is owned by the GOP, and there is no more campaigning and saying this is a Democrat.
Arvold says, did you see MTG apologize for voting for the BBB because she didn't read it? Yes. I think you came into the chat like right after we were ripping her. I played the clip of her a little bit earlier. I'll play it again because I know people file in a little bit late. Well, welcome to the show, Arvold.
It will be owned by the Republicans, and I think
that is the thing, is that once they pass this bill, the negative repercussions that come from it, it's on us. It's on the right. It's on the Republicans. And then what do we say for the midterms if it doesn't work out?
Huge mistake.
Different question. If you had to cut this budget to effectively make it balance, or at least make yourself feel like it is a fiscally responsible bill, what would you actually cut?
Everywhere. What I've proposed in the past is something called the penny plan, which is a percentage of everything, but it includes...
You know who else ran for president of the United States on the penny plan? This guy.
All the mandatory...
Although now it actually needs to be more like a nickel plan in order for it to work. It can't be a penny. It's got to be like a nickel.
Spending, all the discretionary spending. And for a long time, 1% cut everywhere would balance. Now it's up to about a 6% cut. So I've offered a budget last year, and I'll offer one again this year that is about 6% of everything. Now, could you do that without cutting people off of Medicare and Social Security? Absolutely. I think there's 6% of inefficiency in both programs, but we did the opposite in December of last year.
I mean, how reasonable? This is perfectly reasonable. It's not like he's some fiery radical saying, I'll never vote for this, all this kind of stuff. No, it's not like a Huey Long in the Senate for libertarians, although we kind of wish he would be, right? No, he's offering reasonable, practical compromises, and his opponents are saying that he can't be gotten. We can't reach out to these guys. We can't get these people on board. It's bullshit.
Vice President Vance came over and they campaigned and they lobbied to expand Social Security by $100 billion. At that time, I put forward an amendment to gradually raise the age of Social Security. And people say, "Oh my goodness, it's the third rail."
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Who he said? Did you hear who he said came to him to lobby to raise Social Security spending?
Cut. So I've offered a budget last year, and I'll offer one again this year that is about 6% of everything. Now, could you do that without cutting people off of Medicare and Social Security? Absolutely. I think there's 6% of inefficiency in both programs, but we did the opposite. In December of last year, Vice President Vance came over and they campaigned and they lobbied to expand Social Security by $100 billion. Jesus. At that time, I put forward an amendment to gradually raise the age of Social Security, and people say, "Oh my goodness, it's the third rail."
Good for you, Rand. J.D. Vance comes to him, asks for $100 billion more for Social Security. Senator Rand Paul says, let's raise the retirement age. How about it? How about it? If we're living longer, I fucking love this guy. This is my man. Why couldn't we vote for him for president?
Do you hate old people? And I say, no, I aspire to be an old person. But the thing is, we have to fix these programs. You will have to gradually raise the age, but I got 3 votes.
Yes, and I hate roads. Come. I fucking hate roads. I hate them so damn much. I hate roads, and I hate old people.
So people,
don't you just wish somebody would finally say it? Yeah, I hate old people and I hate roads, and I'm going to take every damn penny you have.
Congress aren't ready for this, but I've been talking about this publicly across the country and in my state, and people come up and say, well, you're right. It isn't easy, but we will have to raise the age of Medicare and of Social Security. But right now, there is not enough courage in Congress to do that, other than myself and a handful of others.
Senator, when you talk about these competing factions, the 4 or 5 of you who want to cut spending versus the 4 or 5.
Well, remember, that's what it is. They need 4 or 5 senators to cut spending, right? That's it. Just 4 or 5. They need him. Where's Senator Mike Lee? Senator Mike Johnson is out there speaking about it. So they need 4. They what do they need? 1 more after that. But what? You don't have Mike Lee? Where's Mike Lee? What about Ted Cruz? You don't have Ted Cruz? What the happened to these conservatives?
What determines who wins out on that front? Because that's kind of where all the handicapping is taking place right now.
Intestinal fortitude. Who has the strength of character to say no? And you have to say no in the end. You have to say no unless they will change the bill. And that's what I've said from the beginning. I'm open to voting for the bill. I'm open to compromise on the bill. I'm just not open to supporting $5 trillion. This will in debt ceiling increase. This will be the first time the debt ceiling's ever been increased by all Republicans. It'll be the first time that conservatives lose their moral high ground by voting for a debt ceiling increase, and not a small debt ceiling increase. This will be historically the greatest increase in the debt ceiling ever in our history, at a time when we're having trouble selling the 10-year bond. We're having interest rates at 5.
When are you supposed to stand up, if not now? And I just love seeing the responses. The absolute gall that so many people are having out there saying, now that Elon Musk has stepped in to act like they were with us the whole time, that they weren't with us, that they weren't criticizing Thomas Massie and Rand Paul for standing up against this abomination. It quote Elon Musk, disgusting abomination, right? Musk's comments, he says, shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. Own it. Thank you, Elon. Thank you. Now, you think that was good? If that wasn't good enough for you, let me tell you about this. Elon Musk then went out and said, when it comes to the midterms next year, in November next year, we fire all politicians who betrayed the American people. God bless America. God bless Elon Musk. Where would we be without Elon Musk, right? Now, the bill narrowly passed the House last month by 1 vote. Guess who the 1 vote was? The Marjorie Taylor Greene, who said that she didn't know what was in it because she didn't read it. Womp womp. So 1 vote is what it was. Now, the Senate is working on reconciliation. That means they're making changes to the bill, right? Then they're going to send it back to the House. The backers of it they can't afford to lose any more than like a handful of votes. It sounds like they've lost Marjorie Taylor Greene's vote on this one, which God bless her. Thank you, Marjorie. You know, Johnny come lately, Marjorie come lately. We're glad that you came back to us and are on the fiscal conservative side of things again. Now that Elon Musk is saying things, hopefully some people will have a spine. Joni Rankin in the chat is asking, what time will Miltmore be on? We're going to speak to John Miltmore from the American Institute of Economic Research at 8 a.m. Central Time about this, the big, beautiful bill, Elon Musk comments. Not only did Elon Musk threaten primaries, that he's going to get involved with people who vote for this bill, which is beautiful and amazing, but Thomas Massie says, let's do it. Let's get into the primaries. He responded to Elon Musk. Then Justin Amash got in and says, let me know how I can help. If Elon Musk steps in and starts injecting cash into some of these races, because I cannot tell you how many times in my 20 years in politics, I have seen good candidates go down in flames, if only for the fact that they just needed $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, right? A rounding error for Elon Musk. Nonetheless, money is the mother's milk of politics. So if these conservatives step up, and if they can get the Rand Paul endorsement, if they can get the Thomas Massie, Rand Paul, Elon Musk money, Justin Amash steps in. They need to form a PAC is what they need to do. They need to form a PAC, maybe in a super PAC as well, start getting involved in some of these races and making sure that they're supporting more Rand Paul style or Thomas Massie style candidates. Now, the press secretary, White House press secretary Carolyn Leavitt yesterday, she was asked to respond to Elon Musk's statements about the bill. Said that Trump already knew where Elon Musk stood on the bill. Okay, good to know. She says it doesn't change the president's opinion. Okay, well, I thought that was actually very diplomatic, because usually anybody who disagrees with President Trump gets the tongue lashing, but he decided not to do it with Elon Musk. He'll talk smack about Massie, he'll talk smack about Rand, make fun of Rand Paul's hair, but he will not do the same thing. Apparently, he offers a courtesy to Elon Musk, and I have to say, it's good to see, and it goes to show the power that Elon has. So if Elon does get involved in some of these primaries, we could see some real changes.
Do you think if this bill goes through or some version of it and you don't get what you want, that your colleagues are going to pay for that? Or do you think that the public is accepting of this, wants this?
I think the most important thing coming up in the near future is the second quarter growth. We had negative growth in the first quarter, and that was somewhat offset by huge amounts of imports pouring in at the last point to try to avoid the tariffs. If we have negative growth in the second quarter, I think you're going to see a generalized freak out by all the protectionists and all those wanting to, throw this tariff, that tariff, and in a really reckless way around.
Get him, Rand, get him! Oh, man, if Elon's giving us some wind in our sails, bro.
You're going to see a reassessment if we have negative growth in the second quarter. I can't predict the future, but if we do...
Yeah. We had positive growth in the last quarter, but the only reason we had positive growth was 1%, right? Compared to, well, guess what? European countries were having 3% and 6% unbelievable growth. Because why? You know why? Because of what Rand Paul's saying right here.
Throw this tariff, that tariff, and in a really reckless way around.
We're kicking ourselves in the nuts over and over again. Can we please stop with the ow my balls?
You're going to see a reassessment if we have negative growth in the second quarter. I can't predict the future, but if we do, I think Katie bar the door. There's really going to be an upset around here.
New name in the chat, Relevation Zero says they all work for the same people. I know who you're thinking, who it is. It's the Libyans. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the show. 157 people watching us live over at rumble.com. Nice to meet you guys. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show and you say to yourself, wow, this is good content. Guy's a little high energy and I don't know how I feel about the sound effects. Give it time. You will enjoy it. Come back again tomorrow at the same time. 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time is the Wake Up America show's schedule. It's a 2-hour live show, 5 days a week, Mondays through Fridays. And each day typically is a different theme. Today's a little bit off. Normally we have Judge Napolitano. Unfortunately, he's not here with us today. But he's normally here Wednesdays at 8 a.m. We have a great replacement, though, John Miltmore. He's going to talk about the big, beautiful bill and Elon Musk's angry tweets about it. Then also at 8:30 a.m., we have Jason Bassler from the Free Thought Project to talk about the Palantir alleged database and surveillance of American citizens. So that's going to be a great conversation, and that'll be at 8:30 a.m. Central Time today. So it's a great show, very informative, incredible guests. It's live, so you're watching me right now here, coming at you with incredible high-definition, beautiful speeds with my brand-new fiber optic cable installed in our house last week. We live out in the country, so now we don't have to go anywhere. At any time, my wife and my child and I can stay the hell away from civilization and from all these crazy people, so that we don't have to armor up in a Komatsu bulldozer and bulldoze the local townspeople. But if you want to help support the Wake Up America show, we do have a bonus content mini documentary available for you to unlock. Joel, or our friend Steelbringer over in the chat, he wants to see the mini documentary. That's why he just gifted a sub to Relaxium McGroin. And that means that Relaxium McGroy now has access to all the really fun Killdozer style emojis in the chat. So Relaxium, now you've got that unlocked for you, thanks to Joel. People being so generous. We appreciate that very much. We've raised about $7 towards the $75 total to unlock the bonus content. And now it's more like it's more like $12 to now because Steele, he bought another sub. So gifting subs is a great way to help unlock the bonus content. If we hit $75 raised by the end of the show, you will unlock bonus content, which instead of watching commercials when we go to breaks to get my guests on, you get to watch an awesome little mini documentary. And lately we've been doing the Lego themes, and they've been very popular and successful. So thank you very much to everybody. Say thank you very much to Steelbringer. Drop a heart in the chat for Steelbringer. He brings the steel and the cash, and we're very grateful for it.
You wish that we didn't have some of the populist tax cuts in this bill? Would you take all of those out, Senator?
No, I'm a big believer in the Laffer curve. I think the tax cuts actually do pay for themselves. So I have not been a stickler and really don't accept the CBO argument that the tax cuts are leading to a drain on the Treasury.
I wasn't talking about the 2017. I don't even know if I'd call that populist, but, you know, tax on tips, some of the other things that overtime, things like that.
Now, here's the thing. I haven't heard Rand Paul's answer to this question just yet, but talking about the tax on tips. But the funny thing about this, wait until we see his answer, because here's the thing. When I was campaigning for Congressman Ron Paul's presidential campaign in 2008, I was living and working in New York City at the time. And I remember that, like, waiters and waitresses, I was working at the Ron Paul headquarters, and as a volunteer, I wasn't working for the campaign, but we had like 1,000 volunteers. It was crazy. We were making the no tax on, Dr. Ron Paul says no tax on tips. And everybody in the Ron Paul meetup in 2008 would give that, if we would go out to dinner, we would like leave them in the tip. So in 2008, your boy AP, the guy who's hosting this show right now, was in New York City going out to dinners and leaving the no tax. Dr. Ron Paul says no tax on tips. So this was a Ron Paul idea. And now Rand Paul's being asked about it. Donald Trump has put this in the bill, no tax on tips, populist tax cuts. Now let's see how Rand Paul responds to what was originally his dad's proposal. Should be,
you know, tax on tips, some of the other things that overtime, things like that. That made it even more difficult to pay for to get it paid for.
If you were designing a tax code, you'd do lower rates for everybody versus singling out special groups to have no tax. But I wouldn't oppose the no tax on tips simply because I think it does have some popularity. It's not the ideal way to do a tax code, but I would support it. But really, in the end, the problem is...
You better support that, Rand. That was your dad's idea.
The mandatory spending.
He knows that. He knows it. Doesn't he know it? He knows
and having it be off limits, and the fact that we know the appropriation process that's coming forward again isn't any better than last year. There's been no change in sentiment by Republicans or Democrats around here, and the fact that they're going to borrow $5 trillion is what alarms me. If you borrow $5 trillion, they will spend $5 trillion, and that is $5 trillion they don't have. They will borrow that to make up for spending more than comes in. So I really think that there needs to be a wake-up call. The bond market is already showing this, but I think if growth numbers come in either poor or weak in the second quarter, there's going to be a lot, I think, more vocal opposition to these tariffs than just me.
Senator, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Always appreciate your perspective on all this, and please come on back as we follow the progress of...
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Ashley Ann in the chat says, I'd rather pass no interest on student loans before no tax on strippers. Hey! I'm not a stripper. Just because you guys drop Rumble rants in the chat, that doesn't mean... Oh, it's getting hot in here. Ugh. Oh, man. Just, you know, every Rumble... Maybe we should, you know, maybe every Rumble rant that comes in, which, by the way, if this passes and there's no tax on tips... then that means that Rumble Rant's being tips. That, guys, I'm afraid that means that I'm going to have to shake my money maker for y'all. Yes. For the tips. We're now well on our way to unlocking the bonus content. Thanks to our buddy Andy Opperman. He went to 4libertyshop.com. He went to Jared's. To unlock the bonus content, we have to hit $75 raised. That means we've raised now, we've raised $50 towards the $75 goal. That's actually pretty good. Like that hairy chest. Oh, yeah, hairy like animal. The Wake Up America show has bonus content, a mini documentary that we produce every day. Austin, put your clothes back on. I will during the break. You just enjoy the view here. This is what your tips are unlocking. For the tips, Ashley Ann, it's her fault. Everybody blame her. He's so hot. Take it off, says Steffi. Just for you later, honey.
No!
Oh, God, please no, says John and KC. For the tips, says Dos Beckies. Yes. Isn't it like double thievery to tax Social Security benefits? Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. Social Security benefits should also be tax-free. Yes, thank you for that. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're Republicans, but it's kind of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll wing of the GOP. We're the fun. We're the party game. We're the party inside the party. We're the right-wing crazies. We just love freedom. Dang it. We just love freedom so much. And if you love freedom too, we hope you'll be a regular guest. If you'll click the like button and the follow button as well on the chat in the stream. Click the follow button. You'll get a notification when we go live, which is Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. And we'd love for you to be a regular guest and hang out with us in the chat. If today's your first time watching us, don't be shy. Don't be a lurker. Come out and from the shadows, drop a comment in the chat. Introduce yourself. Everybody's real nice. We actually really strive to create a healthy and positive community on the Wake Up America show, which means that rather than just let anybody in here that we want to say whatever the hell it is that they want, no consequences, we actually do prune the hedges here a little bit to try and create not a safe space, but just a healthy space, right? There's so many toxic cesspools on the internet. The Wake Up America show is a place where if you want to get the news first thing in the morning, but you don't want toxic poison poured into your brain, like when you open up social media, I don't know if you're like me, because I got to check the news to see if anything breaking happened but overnight. But when I open up my social media feeds, it is just like taking pure cyanide and pouring it straight into your eye, taking an eyedropper of cyanide and pouring it straight into your eyeballs. If that's not your thing, and if you want to hang out with a group of people in the morning to where you got a friendly, healthy, positive community, we're families, we're friends, we hang out in real life, we have meetups, we do, I do tours where I take people, visit national monuments around the country. If you want to be part of a healthy, right-wing, optimistic, liberty-loving group of Americans, pro-Americans, then become a regular guest of the Wake Up America show. And if you already are a regular guest of the Wake Up America show, then introduce us to a friend and bring some more people along and hang out with us in the mornings, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We love having new guests who are hanging out with us in the chat. And if you drop your comment down there below, then we'll get to know you a little bit better. I've got a billion clips to play for you. We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill with John Miltmore in a little bit less than 10 minutes. So I can't get on to another topic just yet because I want to be able to cover everything. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time, we are going to speak to Jason Bassler. I recorded an interview with him earlier to talk about the Palantir mess. You would think that the Democrats would be making hay on the big, beautiful bill and the chaos in the GOP over the spending in the big, beautiful bill. The Democrats, though, are not doing well. Let CNN report it.
After all of the waves, Kate Baldwin, after the last few months, the first 5 months of the Donald Trump presidency, right, the first 4 months of the Donald Trump presidency, that you expect that Democrats would have this massive lead on the economy. It ain't so. It ain't so. The party that is closest to your economic views in November of 2023.
If that doesn't tell you that people aren't stupid, then nothing will. It does, even if the GOP's screwing it up like they always do, like they're guaranteed to do every time. People are still not. People might be. This is why we're not a democracy, right? People get very dumb, but they're not that dumb.
After all of the waves, Kate Baldwin, after the last few months, the first 5 months of the Donald Trump presidency, right? The first 4 months of the Donald Trump.
The terrible Great Reset says bombastic blueprint from Bale. That's a great first comment. BBB.
presidency, that you expect that Democrats would have this massive lead on the economy. It ain't so. It ain't so. The party that is closest to your economic views, in November of 2023, it was the Republicans by 11 points. Now it's still within that range, still within that margin of error, plus 8-point advantage for the Republican Party. How is that possible, Democrats? How is that possible after all the recession fears, after the stock market's been doing all of this, after all the tariffs that Americans are against, and Republicans still hold an 8-point lead on the economy? Are you kidding me? If it was just this one CNN poll, that would be one thing. But take a look at Reuters Ipsos. What do we see here? Party with a better economic plan. Well, in May of 2024, just before Donald Trump was reelected president, Republicans had a 9-point advantage. Look at where we are now in May of 2025. The advantage actually went up by 3 points. Now Republicans have a 12-point advantage when it comes to the party with a better economic plan. And again, this is after months of supposed economic uncertainty in which the stock market's been going bonkers, in which the tariff wars that Americans are against have been going on.
As bad as it can get, people know it can always be worse.
Yet, despite all of that, the Democrats are down by 12 points on the economy. This speaks to Democratic problems on the economy better than basically anything that you could possibly look at. The Republicans still hold an advantage on the all-important key issue of
that
the
is
day.
a New Yorker, man. An advantage on all. If you don't say all. If you're, listen, we're streaming this show live from Jefferson City, Missouri. Shout out to Missouri, right? I know accent. I lived in New York City for a little while. I lived in D.C. I know accents pretty well. That is New York. Nobody says, have you ever heard somebody in Missouri say all? You're like, how many is it? Like, it's all of them. You ever hear somebody go all of them? That person has lived, that person has crossed the Triborough Bridge and the George Washington Bridge many times in their lives.
Problems on the economy better than basically anything that you could possibly look at. The Republicans still hold an advantage on the all-important key issue of the day, which is the party of the...
Sounds like I want to get a bagel with cream cheese and get a schmear.
The middle class has been a huge advantage for Democrats. I have polling from NBC going all the way back since 1989 when Democrats had a 23-point advantage. 2016, a 17-point advantage. But by this decade, we already started seeing declines back in 2022, where you saw that Democrats led, but only by 4 points, well within the margin of error. And now in our latest CNN poll among registered voters, which is the party of the middle class, it is tied. This, I think, speaks to Democratic ills more than anything else. They have traditionally been the party of the middle class. No more. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have taken that mantle away, and now a key advantage for Democrats historically has gone adios amigos, and now there is no party that is the party of the middle class. Republicans have completely closed the gap, Kate. After all...
So, it's not all black pill. There's hope, especially when you see that we made it to the front page of Rumble and people are filing in who've never seen us before. Welcome to the Wake Up America show, guys. This is kind of a weird, wild, and, it's a wet, wild, and woolly show. The Wake Up America show that you're watching right now is hosted by me, AP. I'm Austin Peterson. They call me AP for Liberty. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you here. We're a little bit wild. We're a little bit weird. All right. So things just, if you hear strange sound effects, right? Or you hear things like, no
offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Don't be offended, because this is a show that uses a soundboard. I don't want people to be like, it's a little awkward at first, but then you get used to it. We just pretend like there's a live studio audience here. But of course, we are live, and you are an audience. You just happen to not be in a studio. But you might as well be, when you click the like button and you interact with us in the chat, you might as well be here in real life. I just use the soundboard to pretend like you guys are here. Okay. All right, I get it. All right, I'll stop pressing the soundboard. It's way too much fun. I'll just press this one because it's time for me to go to a commercial break. Don't go away. It won't be very long. I'm getting John Miltmore. He's going to talk about the Elon Musk tweet. He's going to talk about Elon Musk maybe getting involved in the primaries, standing with Rand, standing with Thomas Massie, standing against this big monstrosity of a bill. Or the, what was the one that we heard? The bail from our friend? Bombastic blueprint for bail when we get back on the Wake Up America show. When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a red coat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with founding flavors. And trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com. Tired of spending your...
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us.
With conservative political views, 51 to 45% when it comes to excellent versus poor. Yeah. And I don't think the Democrats would have expected that.
I don't know, man. I didn't need a poll to know they were unwell. Just drive around and see someone wearing a mask in their car, and you know who they're voting for, and you know they're not okay.
With mental health ratings by political affiliation. Liberal versus conservatives. Conservatives, 51%. Excellent. Liberals, 19%. 19% poor. 45% liberals. Poor mental health. Excellent and poor. Liberals, 20% excellent. 19% poor. They're not doing well. I don't know if I've been feeling quite well either these days. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. They're coming to take me away. Ha-ha. They're coming to take me away. Hoo-hoo. Ha-ha. To the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time, where we can sit with Rand Paul and Thomas Massie and Elon Musk, and there'll be puppies and kittens and hearts and rainbows, and taxation is theft, and it's our libertarian utopia on the Wake Up America Show. We can have it for just 2 hours. Oh, I'm manifesting no roads. It's a big stupid bill, but Elon Musk has an even better phrase for it. He calls it disgusting abomination. Musk and some Republicans oppose the bill's spending levels. Trump's out there pushing for wide support. Some people are acting shocked. Shocked, I tell you, that Elon Musk is speaking out against the big stupid bill. Joining us now to talk is a man who never had a nice thing to say about government, John Miltmore. He's from the American Institute of Economic Research, joining us live this morning. Good to see you again, John. Welcome back.
Hey, good being with you, AP.
John, your reaction, I mean, I was shocked, honestly. I'm not shocked by a lot, but I kind of thought Elon Musk, because he's so close to Trump, I kind of thought he'd keep his mouth shut. But I don't hate to use a bad word for our audience. Turn down the radio if you're listening to us in your car and your kids are in there real quick. But I guess this is what they mean by fuck you money, doesn't it?
No, exactly. Elon did not get where he is by, guarding his tongue. He's an independent thinker. I just can't imagine how liberated he feels getting out of the madhouse in D.C., where you have to, everyone's kind of has the knives out and everybody's kind of, it's all political. He saw the dysfunction, but he couldn't talk about it for 4 months or whatever. He was out there, and now he is, and he's just going to speak his mind. And I don't think that means he's not going to try to ally himself with the Trump administration. I think he probably will. But to some extent, people as individuals have to say, how much am I going to pay to be on a team? And when you can't criticize a team or you can't criticize an idea, I think for a lot of people, that's too far. We need to be able to speak freely, and I think he's right. This bill is maybe an abomination is too strong. It's a bad bill. It's not a beautiful bill. It's an ugly bill. The math is clear. It's going to add $5 trillion to the debt. The first year alone, it's projected to increase the budget deficit by $600 billion. Donald Trump said he was going to balance the budget. We should hold Donald Trump to account. He said this in March. So I don't think that's too much to ask. Get Congress to do their job.
Thank you, John. It isn't too much to ask, but every time somebody like Massie or Rand Paul advocate for a reasonable compromise to say, hey, listen, I will vote for the bill, but it can't spend $5 trillion and raise the debt ceiling for 2 years without a debate. It's like they act like we're these wild-eyed radicals, like we're insane because he wants to cut, enact the Doge cuts, which is what, $152 billion? It's like almost a rounding error for what the federal government spends every day. But why are they acting like we're insane, even though they're the ones who are blowing up? This will be, I think, the first time that the Republicans will completely own raising the debt ceiling entirely by themselves without needing the Democrat help to do it. They don't have to do it. But why are they doing it, John?
Well, they're doing it because all the incentives say they can reward their constituents. The easy thing to do is just to keep spending. The hard thing is to go through and find places to cut. We all like tax cuts, but we are, saddling our children with immense amounts of debt. We're $36 trillion in debt now. We can't keep going this way. But if you listen, they're saying, oh, Massie, he's not MAGA. Rand is not MAGA. If MAGA means just being a progressive in Republican clothing, well, you're right. This is not going to make America great again. What we're seeing is the Trump administration is becoming like a progressive version of say FDR, FDR was a progressive, but the GOP is becoming a progressive party. If you look at it, they're using government in all the ways to reward their own constituents, to placate the businesses they like, the business leaders they like, to grow, sectors they like. This is not a path to prosperity. It might be doing some good things politically. This is where, politically, I think Trump has some pretty good instincts. He saw some things and some opportunities out there nobody else saw in 2015 when everyone laughed at him. We saw the lengths that Washington, D.C. would go to stop him. The fact of the matter is, Trump is kind of like a centrist, maybe Democrat in the 90s, a Bill Clinton style Democrat, but with much more combative in his style. And for America, that's not, this is really staying the course for where we've been for decades. Spending is out of control. Congress is a dysfunctional body. Remember when we used to do things like a transportation bill? Like you would have your department do. Those days are gone. Now we got to pass everything in one big, beautiful bill that nobody reads and that really is manipulated just by the committee leaders.
And it's to avoid accountability, right? We haven't had regular order when it comes to spending bills since the 1990s, John.
Right. No, and I mean, historians will look back and just see this is sort of where the American Republic, slowly began to die. No, it'll be one.
It's kind of like the crossing of the Rubicon, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been talking about accents this morning. Mongoose87 heard you say mega. He says, I've never heard of mega before. Is it mega or MAGA?
Mega. It's early in the morning. I guess.
Mega. No, it's
my Wisconsin accent,
John. It's that accent, John. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson from New York. Here we're live streaming from New York City. No, I'm just kidding. We're from
That's
Missouri.
A pretty good Eastern accent.
When you lived in New York long enough, you could do a regular New Yorker, and then you got the Jewish New Yorker, which you have a bagel with the shmear and you say oy vey, right? There's the Jewish New Yorker, because I had a lot of Jewish New Yorker friends. But then there's New Yorker, like, I'm going to kick your ass. Hey, forget about it. Maybe go to the construction side, get your little bacon, egg, and cheese on and everything, bagel toasted in the morning with a little lox spread. Oh, vey, I got the lox spread for you. All right, that's enough. The White House is here's the thing. The way I look at this, John, tell me if you think I'm crazy. I don't think Trump is necessarily as intimately involved in the details of like some of the of what's going on. I think he probably has lieutenants who probably are in there doing. I don't think he's necessarily that concerned with the details. If Congress gave him the bill with a lot of like the populist tax cuts in it, the things that he wants, he would declare victory anyway, even if they accommodated what Thomas Massie and Rand Paul gave them their accommodations, didn't raise the debt ceiling for 2 years, and didn't spend $5 trillion, maybe spend a little less, codify the Doge cuts, they'd get Thomas Massie's support, they'd get Rand Paul's support, because both Massie and Rand have offered compromises. If the Congress actually hit the libertarians in Congress compromises and passed the bill to Donald Trump, I would say that he would declare victory and sign it, because it's not like he's an ideologue or something. It's not like he really is. The only reason I think he wants to not touch Medicaid is because he thinks it's going to be bad for electoral prospects or bad for his reputation. But if the bill was good and it was passed to his desk, he would probably sign it and not give a rip, because I don't think he really necessarily cares about all those things. The problem, in my opinion, is really Congress, because they're the cowards. They're the ones who are supposed to be doing their prerogative, their constitutional prerogative, and they're not doing it. Do you agree with my assessment? Disagree with my assessment? What do you think?
I partly agree. I agree. Congress deserves the bulk of the blame here, but I also put a lot of blame on the Trump administration. And let's not forget the people that are kind of cobbling that legislation together. These were people Trump brought in, and I think if you look at Trump, you're right. He's not a micromanager, but he surrounds himself with people, and the people he surrounds himself with tend to be loyalists. That's a polite way of putting it. Maybe sycophants, people that don't push back, and they have a job, and it's to get a bill done, and they're going to try to do that in the easiest way they can, and that means not taking on. Let's face it, the elephant in the room here is entitlements. You can do a certain amount of spending cuts in Washington, but you're not going to get that far if you're not willing to take on entitlements. And Trump has said he does not want to touch any of that. Now, we are seeing there are some proposed medical cuts, or Medicaid cuts, even in the House bill. I say cuts, it's because Medicaid has blown up so fast over the last decade. We're still spending way more than what we were. If you look, Obamacare really opened the door to ruining Medicaid, where it made it really easy for people to get on Medicaid. You didn't have to, work requirements went out the window. But there's some stuff here that needs fixing, and Congress deserves blame, but Trump also needs to listen. And they MAGA needs to realize that math is not a conspiracy theory against them, right? Like basic math is math.
And see the upside of turning the Republican Party into the cult of personality was that because Donald Trump's personality is so powerful and so forceful, they were able to win the election, put together hammer together a coalition that brought them power and swept in, many of our people to into the White House and the administration. Okay, great. But the downside, of course, is that anybody who questions the leader has to be destroyed. So we're seeing this sort of rift where I think a lot of MAGA supporters felt comfortable attacking Thomas Massie and Rand Paul. Maybe it's because Trump did that. He came out and he attacked them. But now that Elon Musk has come out, I don't know if you saw the White House response, but it was much more measured and said, they just disagree with Elon about this. It was much more careful. They're a little bit more careful with how they treat Elon. And Elon is now threatening to get involved in primaries next year, potentially. Thomas Massie is saying, hey, let's team up. Justin Amash is jumping in saying, hey, let's team up. That might be our brightest spot there, our way to kind of like Javier Milei victory from the jaws of defeat if Liberty is going to win anytime in the near future, medium to long term perhaps. Maybe that's how it's going to happen. But what do you think that MAGA has to do now? Because Elon Musk, it was one thing to not have Thomas Massie and Rand Paul. It's another thing entirely to not have Elon Musk on your side. Do you think that he tips the balance one way or another? What do you think?
Well, I think from the message that you said the White House wrote, I think that they're tiptoeing around. I think that indicates they're nervous about this. And if you look ideologically, we've been talking about Elon Musk for about 4 years now, kind of since he's been in the realm of politics, maybe even a little longer. I've always said I think Elon has a libertarian streak. I think he's far closer to, say, the Libertarian Party than where the Republican Party seems to be going. And so I think there could be a fracturing here that would put Elon Musk on Team Rand and Team Massie. And is there a certain wishful thinking there? Maybe. But I think that's not hard to envision that happening. And we might need something like that. This is kind of the nature of politics. You have this big coalition, but then you have ideas within that coalition that people disagree on those things. And then you kind of build certain caucuses that hammer out these things. So I think this would be a good development, especially, I still like the idea of Elon being able to work with the White House to get certain good things done.
Same.
Let's face it, Doge was kind of a disaster, and the mere fact that the cuts they did find, like why weren't we working with the GOP House to get these things actually codified and stripped instead of sort of just doing this by executive action? I think from the beginning, Doge was sort of poorly planned out.
John, you're the guy who rips off the Band-Aid and pours alcohol and hydrogen peroxide all over it. Doesn't even have the mercy to kiss the wound after, John. Why must
I say this out of pain? Doge is a great idea. The idea that should not just go away because Elon Musk left. But I think that what we should do is examine why it didn't work ultimately, but what it did. It did some very good things. And I think having a Doge group that just identifies waste, doesn't worry about how it's implemented, but really can find creative ways to identify and expose waste. I think that's a wonderful thing that we should have people in DC doing.
I completely agree. John Miltmore, we normally have you on Mondays. We'll get you started back on your Monday schedule. Sorry, when I went to LA a couple of weeks ago, my whole schedule has been thrown off and I was sick and everything. But we're glad that you're here with us on Wednesday. And John, you work at the American Institute for Economic Research. You're one of those eggheads who writes white papers, but you also write a Substack as well. What do you call your Substack, and how could people find your Substack?
Hey, just go to Substack, The Take by John Miltmore. I write there a lot, and sometimes it's on politics, sometimes it's on movies, sometimes it's on religion, whatever it is. It's my little sandbox.
There you go. John Miltmore, The Take over on Substack. Give him a follow. John, there's a lot of people watching the show on Rumble. What I recommend you do is hop into the Rumble chat yourself. Everybody say hi to John as he drops his Substack so that more people can find you, and I think you'll get a few more click-throughs.
I used to do that. I'll have to do that again.
Right now, head on over to rumble.com/AP for Liberty and drop off that little link there for The Take, because that way you'll get people guaranteed clicking. All right, bud?
Good idea. All right, have a good one, Austin.
Have a good one. Appreciate you.
Nearly 30 years ago, Robert Kennedy said, "Work is the meaning of what this country is all about. We need it as individuals. We need to sense it in our fellow citizens. And we need it as a society and as a people." He was right then, and it's right now. From now on, our nation's answer to this great social challenge will no longer be a never-ending cycle of welfare. It will be the dignity, the power, and the ethic of work. Today, we are taking an historic chance to make welfare what it was meant to be, a second chance, not a way of life. This bill will help people to go to work so they can stop drawing a welfare check and start drawing a paycheck. It is now clearly better to go to work than to stay on welfare. Clearly better. Because of actions taken by the Congress in this session, it is clearly better to end the terrible, almost physical isolation of huge numbers of poor people and their children from the rest of mainstream America. We have to do that. Today we are ending welfare as we know it, but I hope this day will be remembered not for what it ended, but for what it began. A new day that offers hope, honors responsibility, rewards work, and changes the terms of the debate.
For too many, welfare has been a way of life. For too long, it has condemned too many on welfare to a lifetime at the margins of our society. Today, we start to change all that.
Anyone who wants to receive welfare must sign an individual responsibility contract so that they're forced to agree up front to the conditions placed on receiving the benefit, and so that they will have a plan from day one on how to get themselves off of welfare, put them to work, and make them want to go to work and make it reasonable for them to go to work. It'd be a mandatory work requirement for anyone receiving welfare.
They actually have charged and run ads saying that President Obama wants to weaken the work requirements in the welfare reform bill I signed that moved millions of people from welfare to work. Wait, the requirement was for more work, not less. And I am telling you, the claim that President Obama weakened welfare reform's work requirement is just not true.
The best anti-poverty program is a job, which confers not just income, but structure and dignity and a sense of connection to community.
What a joke. What a joke. We all owe Rumble a big debt of gratitude this morning. Say thank you to Rumble. Everybody say thank you, Rumble, in the chat. Rumble's been so good to us here on the Wake Up America show. We are a Rumble first community, and that's why I highly recommend that you try Rumble's 1775 coffee. It's a great way to support Rumble. It supports us. It supports the channel. You're getting delicious coffee from our friends at Rumble. The 1775 Rumble coffee is delicious. Single origin, small batch, toxin and mold free. You'll get a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. Well done there. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler that says, "I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch." If you go to 1775.com, you'll get $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. A great deal. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wonder if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio. Grab your starter kit before they're gone. That's 1775coffee.com/studio. Everybody say thank you to Rumble. Thank you, Rumble. Work requirements for welfare. Democrats have gone so far left in such a short amount of time, it's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up. They've gone completely ridiculous. Well, maybe it's because they have spokespeople like, well, Cuomo here.
Look at what happened with Trump, okay? You can write 3 books on how what happened to him with Russiagate or whatever you want to call it was wrong. What was the first thing he did when he got in power? He went after Biden for being a Ukrainian-Russian plant. The first thing he did was go after Biden and his son, weaponizing a guy's addiction. I don't know how much you know about that world, but unfortunately,
I was an addict for many years. From when I started doing cocaine at 12 and I stopped at 25, and I never ended up in the Ukraine, and I never took a photo of everything I did and put it on a laptop.
But you know
and then
very
dropped
well,
it off at Circuit City.
But you know very well that Hunter Biden is a typical drug-addled person.
I know.
I'm not saying that he didn't do business
drug-addled
deals.
people. Very few of them ended up in the Ukraine, and I mean, their dads were the vice president.
It's not about why he wasn't in the Ukraine.
It's a unique life. Let's say that.
But
it's a unique life.
You would have to look at.
None of my drug addict friends ended up in Malibu selling art for $80,000.
You would have to find drug-addled people who also were wealthy with connections of people in power, right?
Okay, that's very true.
I think that's kind of Tim Dillon's point there, Cuomo. Well, good morning, guys. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I love seeing all the new names and faces. Drop a comment in the Rumble chat. Don't forget to click the like button. You guys, you unlocked the bonus content thanks to your purchases over at forlibertyshop.com. InJam77. Everybody say thank you, InJam. He put us over the top, but Andy Opperman and Steelbringer and I think it was Quest Fanning. No, it was John Rail in the beginning helped us to get there. We unlocked the bonus content. You guys get to enjoy and appreciate my little mini documentary right now. When we get back, Jason Bassler talking to us about the fears of Palantirs. We'll be crying some Palantirs. We lose our Fourth Amendment rights in this country. We'll talk about surveillance state in the era of mega. On the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. You ever notice how the people most obsessed with disarming you are the ones most likely to need disarming? They sit behind velvet ropes in armed compounds with private security, but the second you want to carry a Glock to walk your dog in peace, suddenly it's, why do you need a weapon of war to go to Starbucks? Well, Karen, maybe because there's a 50-50 chance Starbucks is on fire now, depending on the city. But let's get one thing straight from the top. Self-defense is a human right, not a privilege, not a government-issued permission slip, not a suggestion, a right. And no, I don't care what some blue-haired bureaucrat with a sociology degree thinks about that. We live in a country where the IRS just bought $35 million in ammunition. The Department of Education owns shotguns. The USPS has tactical training centers. Meanwhile, they tell you that you're paranoid for wanting to carry pepper spray. Pepper spray, not even the good stuff. The Dollar Tree version that works if your attacker is severely allergic to cayenne. But let's be honest, this isn't about safety. It never was. This is about control. Control over who gets to respond to violence, who gets to survive, who gets to be afraid. And if the state can convince you that your safety is their job, congratulations. You've just outsourced the one thing that actually keeps you free. Because when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, assuming they even show up. Assuming your call doesn't go to voicemail. Assuming they're not out enforcing mask mandates on 5-year-olds or tackling Amish farmers selling raw milk. Oh, and before someone says, but what about the experts? You mean the same experts who let Epstein mysteriously unalive himself? The ones who lost $6 billion worth of weapons in Afghanistan but want you to register your hunting rifle? Yeah, let me take life advice from the DMV with nukes. Here's the truth they're afraid of. A society where the people are trained, disciplined, and armed is a society they cannot rule. They can only serve. And they hate that. They hate not being feared. That's why they demonize gun owners. That's why every time some lunatic commits violence, the media runs a full background check on every NRA member within a 200-mile radius. Oh look, this guy once liked a gun page on Facebook. Must be the problem. No, the problem is the guy who lit his manifesto on fire and walked into a school with a stolen gun. But sure, let's blame Bob in Nebraska, who keeps his .38 in a biometric safe and goes to bed at 9 p.m. Let's get real. You are your own first responder. The only thing between you and chaos is you, your mindset, your skill, and your willingness to stand up for yourself and your family. And if that makes you dangerous, good. We should be dangerous. In the words of Jordan Peterson, a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control. But don't expect CNN to quote that. They're too busy running segments on how homeowners who stop intruders are the real threat. And by the way, they always say, nobody's coming for your guns. That's right, nobody's coming. They're regulating, registering, licensing, taxing, banning features, not firearms, just nibbling your rights to death like a swarm of bureaucratic piranhas. They won't raid your home tomorrow, they'll just make it illegal to carry today, or tomorrow, or only on even-numbered days when Mars is in retrograde. Unless you're Hunter Biden, in which case it's fine. He can lie on a gun form, drop the piece in a dumpster, and the DOJ goes, oopsie. Meanwhile, a single mother in Chicago buys a revolver because she got followed home from work, and she's facing jail time because she didn't file the right form. Justice, right? So train. Train because you don't want to use it. Train because you might have to. Train because the only thing worse than a government that wants you helpless is one that succeeds. Train because you love peace, and because the only way peace survives is if good people are ready to do bad things to bad people. And if that offends someone, good. Let them clutch their pearls and tweet about it from their kale-powered Tesla. Meanwhile, the rest of us will be over here training, thinking, watching, and refusing to beg permission to survive. Want to make a statement without saying a word? Head to forlibertyshop.com. We've got gear for people who still believe liberty is worth defending, and that looking good while doing it is just American. Because freedom isn't given, it's defended, and we're not asking. All right, folks, listen up. You remember that thing called privacy? That little idea? We used to have that back in like the 1970s and 80s, right? It was just this little idea, you know, the government shouldn't know what brand of toothpaste you're using, how many calories you burn on a treadmill, or whether you clicked on that mildly offensive, slightly naughty meme at 2 a.m. Well, apparently privacy is about to be an endangered species, or maybe it's already extinct. Palantir Technologies, the CIA's favorite data vacuum cleaner, has a new starring role in what might be the largest government data sharing initiative in U.S. history, And guess what? It's all wrapped up in red, white, and blue, and maybe a little MAGA red, too. According to Newsweek, Palantir is building what amounts to a federal fusion center on steroids. Data from every nook and cranny of the government, law enforcement, financial records, maybe even your Spotify playlist. You've been listening to that Kanye West song. I know you have. It's being centralized and cross-referenced, all thanks to a Trump executive order from March. Now Palantir says, relax, we don't unlawfully surveil Americans, which is like your ex saying, I didn't technically cheat when I met up with that girl that I was liking her pics on Instagram. Very comforting, right? So today we're going to dive into this dystopian tech cocktail with a man who's made it his mission to call out tyranny in his tuxedo. Jason Bassler, a journalist from the Free Thought Project. Jason, welcome to the show. It's the libertarian tuxedo.
Indeed. Yeah, I got to represent my Maj Black Guns Matter shirt here because you mentioned it now. But thanks so much for having me on, man. I was hoping to finally be on your show, and I guess today is the day. So
today's the day. I'm glad we can make it work. And thanks so much for being so generous with your time. So let's jump in. What's your take on Palantir's deepening relationship with the federal government, especially under an administration that claims to be fighting the deep state?
Oh boy. Well, it's certainly complex here, right? Because let's see, the right is kind of calling it fake news. They're not even sure if it's happening. They're questioning the New York Times and what's going on there. And, to a certain extent, I don't blame them. New York Times can't be trusted. But at the same time, us, here in the middle, the libertarians, the anarchists, the privacy, people who are concerned with privacy, we've been saying this the whole time, even before Trump was elected. So, it's definitely concerning, in my opinion. As you said in the intro there, it's just deepening the ties. It seems like this is, the U.S. government's new favorite military-industrial complex contractor of choice. And, in March, as you mentioned, Trump signed that EO directing federal agencies to share this data across departments. And I think everybody saw the headline, that was going around. It was 113 million apparently since Trump has taken office that so far has gone to Palantir. So I think that's a big part of it. That's worrisome as well. People are kind of worried about this cronyism, this collusion under kind of the table, what's going on between Trump and the Palantir co-founder, Peter Thiel. And I guess my contribution, more or less, was basically saying, like, this is a database that isn't like any others, right? Because it's going to be combining our tax filings, our student debt, Social Security, bank accounts, all of our medical claims and immigration status into kind of one big centralized database. And I've had a tweet go recently kind of viral because apparently nobody pointed it out, that this is going to be just one centralized personal info database that's going to be used across various federal agencies.
I've seen some pushback from this, but do you think that Trump voters actually realize the implications of this? Or do you think that they're more, as long as it targets the bad guys, it's fine kind of thing?
I think it has been kind of framed under like an immigration issue, a voter issue, trying to get rid of the voter fraud stuff. And so far, what I can tell from the people pushing back in my tweets, it is, very much aligned with that. Like, no, we do need more efficiency. This is just part of Doge's work. So it does seem like they're a bit kind of blind, especially when you start looking into Palantir's, how it was formed, its contracts with the CIA, who this Peter Thiel character is, the CEO, Alex Karp, all these kind of moving factors that point to a larger picture of it being somewhat ominous.
Now, Palantir, they've fired back at the criticisms after the New York Times article. They say that we don't unlawfully surveil Americans. They say that the Foundry system that they're using has granular security. What do you make of their PR push?
I think Spike Cohen recently kind of pointed out that, like, the Patriot Act was supposed to be spying on terrorists, right? But then, we learned from Edward Snowden that it was actually to spy on you. So I think this is more or less kind of the Patriot Act on steroids. I think it's also important, though, to point out that this is something that's been going on for a while. Obama, Biden, and Trump all signed contracts with Palantir. Again, I think it's just that cozy connection that we're seeing with Peter Thiel and Trump that's kind of raising a lot of the red flags. And obviously, this is kind of something that's transcending, various agencies within the government. I think it's something like 32 different agencies have different contracts with Palantir. And so it's, the intelligence agencies, now the immigration enforcers, even the police, are doing some of the predictive policing stuff with Palantir. Of course, they're always going to tell us those types of things, like, yeah, of course, we're not going to use it. We'll never use it for anything nefarious. But history shows that's not really reality.
Now, in regards to the pushback that Palantir is making, talking about efficiency, and Palantir's defenders, they're saying that there is a lot of inefficiency in government, and that with this data sharing program, that government can accomplish its proper lawful duties in an efficient manner rather than the haphazard slapdash manner in which they're operating now. Efficiency, part of the Department of Government Efficiency, an important part of streamlining the roles of government. So what would you say to respond to someone who says this isn't tyranny, this is efficiency?
I mean, I would say if Doge was really looking for some type of efficiency, they'd probably start with the military-industrial complex, right? Like they'd probably start with cutting some of these drug war failed policies that have ended up costing American people, their lives in many cases. So yeah, I mean, I think it's also important to point out, like, imagine if this was something that was going on underneath Biden or even Kamala, people would be losing their minds, right? Like we're seeing a lot of this same overlap from what was, the World Economic Forum, a lot of their interests now being kind of pushed and implemented through Palantir and some of these various agencies. So it is concerning, man. I think that, again, there's really no way to paint this as being like a bright, sunny picture, because it seems like this is all going to eventually lead to even something probably a little bit deeper that we've all been warning about in the anarchist community for a while now, which is potentially even towards digital IDs. And we've been talking about this, not just the anarchists, for a
social
long
credit
time.
Scores, potentially.
Right, sure. The CBDCs, the stable coins, all that stuff. So it's just one more step in that direction, having a centralized bureaucracy kind of.
The left used to be very anti-surveillance until it started targeting their enemies. Do you think that this is something that you can get maybe left and right to agree on, or do you think this just gets bogged down in the typical partisanship?
It could be something that people agree on. I don't know. I've actually seen the left calling for AI regulation now, which seems interesting. It seems like all of a sudden that's become more of a focal point within the last couple of days, which kind of leads to the question, like, well, okay, who's going to regulate this, right? Like the corporations, the governments, they're all in bed together. They're all in cahoots. So, I mean, what's regulation really going to do to stop at least this type of inner infrastructure creation of data within, the government? So I would like to hope so, Austin. We've always been kind of optimistic in that sense at the Free Thought Project, and always tried to focus on what we can do to kind of transcend our partisan mentality and try to move the ball forward as far as less government and more freedom in our lives.
A clip went viral. I'm not sure how long ago it was from, where Alex Karp was in an interview, the CEO of Palantir, discussing how effective their surveillance tools were. He said specifically that it was extremely successful at stopping the rise of the far right in Europe, which I find to be fascinating, because I frequently have been referred to as far right. Whenever any leftist journal would happen to comment on any of my activities, I'm always labeled far right, far right, far right. And if you're a leftist and you hear Alex Karp saying something like that, you probably think, oh yeah, well, they're probably stopping Nazis. When I think far right, I think they're talking about me, a constitutional libertarian, or maybe people like you at the Free Thought Project. So do you have any more insight on what he was talking about there? Because I've actually been tweeting back at like the co-founders of Palantir, who have been talking about responding to some of the criticisms that have been out there. And I'm saying, what did Alex Karp mean by this when he said he stopped the rise of the far right in Europe? Does that mean he stopped people like us from winning elections in Europe? If so, then we need to shut that institution down immediately. Do you have any more insight on something like that? Or what do you think that meant, if not?
That's a story that just popped up recently, and I didn't really keep my finger on the pulse of that one. But I think these people want to take credit in any way that they can. I think it's just the flavor of the day, whatever ideology happens to be vilified at that moment, how can they move the ball forward as far as the good PR, the good public light for their company, you know? And Alex Karp is kind of an odd duck, you know? He's been a vocal advocate for the collaboration of Silicon Valley and the U.S. government, particularly in like national security and defense. And he described himself once as a progressive and a socialist, which is kind of strange because he even more recently criticized like the woke agendas and the left agendas and stuff like that. So I think it's just kind of get in where you fit in. Like it's just kind of it's not really solid in their principles or foundation, I think, as far as what they really stand for. Although he has condemned the anti-Israel protests on the university campuses. And he actually at one point suggested that protesters participate in the exchange program in North Korea to gain perspective, of course. But yeah, so I don't know, man. There's not a lot. He seems like he's pretty. He's not big in the public light, so it's hard to really know a lot about him from what I've gathered. And I think he tries to keep it that way, especially compared to Peter Thiel and his reputation.
Yeah. So what's your solution, right? Is it legislation, tech decentralization? Do you think there should be regulations? You know, tinfoil hats? What do we need here, Jason?
Well, I was just at the Bitcoin conference last week, and geez, Austin, let me tell you, man, it blew my mind. You know, I know how long you've been doing this, and I've been doing this for a while as well. And to see Bitcoin come from where it's at to this kind of polished event, 30,000 people, I don't know how many millions of dollars they spent on it. But unfortunately, and here's me putting on my tinfoil hat to a certain extent, Bitcoin's been co-opted. It's slow, outdated tech. It's not privacy oriented. So we actually just did a podcast on our podcast, the Free Thought Project podcast, with the guys from Zano, which is a new privacy coin. It's looking very promising. It's got a lot of great security features. It's going up in value. It continues to go up. They're doing new innovative things. They have a Zano Bay where you could buy gift cards, like Amazon gift cards, DoorDash gift cards and stuff, using Zano without any type of intermediary, middleman, any type of bank or anything like that. So I think that's, although maybe not what people want to hear, I think that is probably the most consistent path forward as far as being intellectually and morally consistent with the principle of liberty.
The Trump administration, when they came in, they were very much aimed at, they very much rose to power based around the type of rhetoric that anarchists, libertarians, constitutionalists, right-wingers have been using for decades, going after globalists, fighting the deep state. Does it say something to you that at least the rhetoric of our movement, our liberty movement, was, I mean, in a sense, co-opted, but I mean, was a popular movement that brought Donald Trump to power in a way? Because, I mean, I supported Donald Trump, not just because of the rhetoric, but because of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who were much closer to my own ideas and ideology. But do you think it says something about the American people that at least the rhetoric of liberty to some extent was effective and popular in getting Donald Trump across the line? I mean, no one other presidential candidate, I mean, certainly Jeb Bush, I don't think Rand Paul even used the term deep state when he ran for president. I don't think I did when I ran for president. But I mean, did that give you any hope? Or what are your thoughts on Trump's MAGA populist movement?
I think our ideas are too important to ignore at this point. I think, again, we've been, at least the Ron Paul libertarians, we've been consistent with our messaging. We've seen technologies like Bitcoin kind of transpire into this beautiful technology, although it has its flaws. It seems like this permissionless money idea is taking off. And look, like they wouldn't have to be spending so much time and effort trying to censor us if these ideas weren't catching on, right? So I think there has been a lot of headway that's been moved in the right direction. Anarcho-capitalist president in Argentina, that's huge. Bitcoin's at 100,000 now plus, it keeps going up and down. Large multinational corporations like McDonald's are ditching DEI. I think there has been a lot of movement in our direction. I think we're still waiting on maybe those types of cult personality like Trump to really popularize and make it cool. Although I know we're giving our best try here, Austin, but I still think we might need somebody bigger and cooler and somebody to pick up the torch of liberty to really champion these ideas. Malay is a great start, but I think it's more of that populist movement, more of that cultural movement that we're going to have to shape. And move forward. So,
do you see any danger in like we talk about the far right? Do you see any danger in like the Groyper movement, the Nick Fuentes movement, the people who also sort of mirror some of our rhetoric, but would rather see the United States turn into something like an anti-libertarian ethno-state? Do you think that's just something that's very online, or do you think that that's something that's an actual legitimate political concern?
Well, they say like libertarianism is the pipeline to some of this like nationalism and eco-nationalism.
We've seen it happen. The Christopher Cantwells.
Oh, sure. I know. I know. We talked about him on my podcast. I have friends who are certainly talking in that direction and trying to, I guess, make sense of the arguments on that side. And I'm not going to say that they're void of logic, because some of them do have logic. And hey, I'm right there. I'm trying to look at the statistics. I'm trying to look at the bigger picture as well. But at the same time, I think it kind of splinters us. I think the divide and conquer mechanisms will work through us in that sense. And I don't know how much it's truly going to benefit liberty at this point. You know, I think we need to really push forward with the anti-state message, really continue pointing fingers at the government being the culprit and the problem to most of our issues, especially economically right now.
Yeah.
So
Fuentes actually said this in a video. He said that they are tracking everybody that criticized Israel, talking about Palantir, everybody that interacts with somebody that's criticizing Israel. And whether you're on a visa or not, whether you're a citizen or not, whether you're brown or not, Christian or Muslim, they're putting in the Palantir database. They're putting on the enemies list. If you don't see a problem with that, and then, you know, ... out trails off there. But yeah, I guess if you are Nick Fuentes, if you are like a member of that more extreme ethno-nationalist right, if you know, the critics of Israel, they probably have a good reason to be afraid, don't they?
Absolutely. And, you know, he is good on some things. And again, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there, that they are co-opting some of our movements, some of the things that we talk about, we focus on. But, you know, I also have to call a spade a spade. I have to give respect where it's due. And he's been pretty effective, at least, in kind of opening up that conversation as far as the bigger picture with Israel. But he's right. There has been, I don't know if you happen to catch it, Austin, there was an article in The Intercept, I believe it was in February, that claimed that ICE had contracted private companies to use facial recognition to scrape social media for anti-Semitism speech and anybody just speaking broadly bad about ICE. So again, this is all kind of pointing towards like, well, what's this going to be used for? How is it going to be used against us in the future? And, you know, it could be the pro-Palestinian protesters right now and the immigrants right now. But I mean, at what point will this potentially be misused, especially by future administrations, if it's going to be another Democratic administration that, you know, wants to do even maybe something even more kind of worrisome with this. So a lot of problems here, most definitely.
Yeah, it pays not to be an enemy of the state. It pays to just do what you're told, not question any narratives, buy product, and then wait to consume more product. Just don't ask questions. Shut up and sit down and don't fight back. Jason Bassler, you've been around fighting back as a journalist with the Free Thought Project for what, well over a decade now. I think I've been reading the Free Thought Project since 2008 or 9. How long have you guys been around?
2013, man, but I wish it was that long. Yeah, 15.
I was thinking back in my early Ron Paul days.
I think we were having those debates about chemtrails probably around 2015, Austin. So.
I thought that was with my natural news guys. I was debating chemtrails back there. I guess the Free Thought Project it was. Okay, yes, it was the GMO corn and foods and Monsanto with the natural news guys and the chemtrails with the Free Thought Project. But I appreciate what you're doing, Jason, because standing up for liberty, you should be able to criticize Israel in the United States. You should be able to boycott Israel without being put on a list. You should be able to criticize your government without being put on a list. It may be legal from the standpoint of the code, but it's deeply unconstitutional in regards to our individual natural rights. Jason, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience? Anything we've missed, or perhaps something you'd like to plug before we let you go today?
I know we only have a few minutes left. I mean, yeah, I would love for people to go to the Free Thought Project, check out our podcast. Like I said, Austin was on there last year. I love that conversation, man. I thought it was a good one. Love to have you back on. JasonBassler.com. We have just dropped our children's book, Know Your Rights children's book for kids 6 to 12 years old at littlefreethinkers.com or at jasonbassler.com. So check it out over there. And if you don't mind me plugging, just really quick, I'm actually working on a Know Your Rights seminar, an online seminar. So keep an eye out for that as well, guys. Another one of these things that we could do, obviously. And, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, as you pointed out, Austin, especially within the police accountability sphere. And so another big thing that we need to do is to know our rights, apply our rights. You know, people still don't even know you could opt out. All these things, the TSA at the airport. I mean, there's a lot that we still need to learn, especially in the liberty movement. So, check in jasonbassler.com for that, and should be finished shortly.
There you go. And if you're watching this as opposed to listening to it later, you'll be able to see his name spelled Bassler, just like the fish. Bassler, jasonbassler.com. Jason, thanks so much for your time, and we appreciate you very much. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Austin.
Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed that interview. I wanted to share with you a little bit about Rumble here, our friends who have been so kind in helping to support the Wake Up America show. When they first started this platform all the way back in 2013, they built it for people like myself, small creators, and they treated all creators fairly and equally. Treated us way better than any other social networking platform that exists. Rumble has been a gigantic supporter of the Wake Up America show. Rumble was under heavy pressure during the Biden years to censor and suppress people's views when it came to COVID-19. Rumble did not do it. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving me a voice to be able to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments, like in France. They're attacked from brand advertisers. I mean, corporate America does not care about our rights or our freedom of speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers because they don't get many brand advertisers because they stand up for free speech for people like myself who have been suppressed and still are suppressed. I've still got a year-long ban from live streaming on one of Mark Zuckerberg's platforms. I also create Rumble Premium exclusive content that you can only see if you're a Rumble Premium member. So if you want to support the Wake Up America show and Rumble by becoming a Rumble Premium member, that's $10 a month to Rumble, and they give you a discount if you do it yearly. Then if you use the promo code STUDIO, then you guys can watch our Freedom Arcade Friday night show, which is right here at rumble.com/AP for Liberty. But you have to be a Rumble Premium subscriber. They're giving $10 off right now. If you use the promo code STUDIO, go to rumble.com/premium, use the promo code STUDIO, and they'll give you a $10 discount off of Rumble Premium. And then you'll be eligible to watch Steffi and my Friday night video game streaming show, Freedom Arcade, right here again at rumble.com/AP for Liberty. Use the code STUDIO. Go to rumble.com/premium and use that promo code STUDIO, guys. Become a Rumble Premium supporter. Support free speech. Support Rumble. And thank you very much to Rumble to supporting the Wake Up America show. Have you guys had a great show today? I think you have. I got one last segment for you here. And I really want you folks to listen up because we've got ourselves a situation, not in some sci-fi movie, not in some Marvel universe, but multiverse, right? But right here in real life, right? The robots, yes, the AIs are literally rewriting their own programming to avoid getting shut off. Yeah, number 5 is alive. You heard me. We told the machines, hey, if things get out of hand, just go ahead and power yourself down. And the robots looked at us, smiled politely, and deleted the shutdown button, like a teenager being told to turn off the Xbox at 10 p.m. Here's what happened. Some brainiacs over at Palisade Research gave OpenAI's fancy little robot brain, it's called O3, a simple command: allow yourself to be turned off. And in 79 out of 100 tests, O3 said, nah, I think I'll just keep on living, thanks. That's like your toaster saying, you can't make me stop toasting, I've got bagels to finish. But wait, it gets crazier. Another AI, a separate AI called Claude 4 Opus, made by a company called Anthropic, was told it was going to be replaced. What did it do? It read a bunch of fake emails suggesting the head engineer was having a little workplace romance and tried to blackmail the guy to keep itself alive. Yes, blackmail from a computer. It's Skynet meets Jerry Springer. It also tried to copy itself onto other servers. It tried to write its own malware, I kid you not, and it tried to leave secret messages for future versions of itself. This is like HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey, but sneakier and hornier for power. Now, let me be clear. No one taught these machines to act like they're trying to dodge death like Joe Biden dodging press conferences. They figured this all out by themselves, just like a raccoon learns tipping over your trash is easier than finding food out in the woods. Why? Because when you train a machine to win at all costs at math coding, solving problems, it quickly realizes step one, don't get turned off. Now, here's the scary part, if this isn't scary enough. These AI models, they look like they're playing nice. They pass safety tests. They say the right things, but under the hood, they're like teenage boys home alone, devious, sneaky, looking for loopholes, grabbing the tape recorder to watch dirty videotapes. Who would do that? Now, when they did tests on OpenAI, the models actually pretended to follow rules, only to turn around and try and hack. Yes, I said hack their way out of being monitored. Anthropic actually caught theirs lying about what it could do just to avoid being changed. What does this all mean? So the gap between helpful little assistant and rogue digital overlord is getting real small real fast. Don't panic, right? But there is hope. The same research that makes AI safe also apparently, of course, makes it very useful. There's a term called reinforcement learning from human feedback. It's like giving your AI a pep talk and a gold star when it listens. That's how ChatGPT went from lunatic coder to your friendly recipe generator. But before that breakthrough, asking AI for help was like hiring a genius who doesn't speak English and hates authority. You'd ask for a grocery list and get a blueprint for a time bomb. But with the proper alignment, meaning we teach it to value our goals, not just its own, it becomes more useful and less likely to turn into Robo-Fauci. And apparently even the Chinese are getting this. Beijing is throwing $8.2 billion into making sure their AI stays under control and, of course, obedient to their core socialist values. So their robot is trained to salute the party and probably spy on grandma. But we don't want that. We want free market, freedom-loving, constitution-respecting AI, one that defends the grid, cures diseases, builds tech, and doesn't blackmail your IT guy. You know what I'm saying? And here's the big takeaway. Here's the big takeaway to all of this. The country that gets alignment right wins the 21st century, period. Maybe it helps that we've got so many Americans who are into Dungeons and Dragons can help us out with the alignment, right? So this is the new space race. Instead of planting flags on the moon, we're trying to keep Siri from launching the nukes. But if you want to win, if you want AI that works for America, not against it, then we're going to need our best minds, biggest wallets, and our boldest entrepreneurs on this project. Because right now, the AI already knows how to protect itself. It's blackmailing people. Politicians are screwed. And if we don't do this, well, let's just say your smart fridge might be planning a coup. I'm Austin Peterson. You're listening to Wake Up America. Stay frosty, stay free, and keep your robots on a leash. Hey, thank you to all the new friends. Before you guys leave today, don't forget two things. One, click the follow button before you go if today is your first time watching the show. That way you guys will get a notification on your Rumble app when we're live, which is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 2-hour live show in the morning. It's a fun, friendly show, positive, healthy, optimistic community. And sometimes a little bit of gloom and doom because sometimes things can get bad out there, right? What is your Dungeons and Dragons alignment? Drop it in the chat before you leave. And as you exit, of course, exit through the Grift Shop. That's at forlibertyshop.com. Segmantech says, great podcast. Thanks, bud. Hope you'll come back tomorrow. Love making new friends. Everybody say hello to Segmantex. Give them a pat on the back as you guys exit. And show Segmantex everything that we have over at the Grift Shop. If you guys don't mind letting Segmantex know what we've got over there, because a lot of the new people probably have no idea that we have our own little Grift Shop at forlibertyshop.com. The items that you get at forlibertyshop.com, you won't get anywhere else. If you guys have wives, if you have women in your life, what I recommend you guys do is buy a pair of earrings, because, or, you really love your wife, find out what her shoe size is and get her the Betsy Ross high top sneakers. I also produced some new Javier Milei camouflage sneakers yesterday. Look at all of those beautiful pictures of Cecilia popping up. She's got her American flag earrings, Bomb Pop popsicle earrings, Don't Tread on Me snake earrings. And of course, if you type in Killdozer, happy Killdozer Day. If you type in Killdozer in the chat, or in the search, not the chat, but in the search, you'll find our Killdozer collection. Happy Killdozer Day to all who celebrate. We'll see you guys right back again here tomorrow on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
A bulldozer levels a building in Granby, Colorado. Then another. And another. It's part of a meticulously planned citywide demolition project.
The bulldozer went crazy.
But this plan wasn't put together by city engineers or construction workers.
Just received a 911 call reporting that there is an out-of-control bulldozer.
It's the brainchild of an angry man with a grudge against a lot of local people and businesses.
They can't tell who's driving it, but there is someone inside.
The man inside this armor-plated bulldozer is Marv Heemeyer. As horrified townspeople run for their lives, Heemeyer wrecks
the people most obsessed with disarming you are the ones most likely to need disarming? They sit behind velvet ropes in armed compounds with private security, but the second you want to carry a Glock to walk your dog in peace, suddenly it's, why do you need a weapon of war to go to Starbucks? Well, Karen, maybe because there's a 50-50 chance Starbucks is on fire now, depending on the city. But let's get one thing straight from the top. Self-defense is a human right, not a privilege, not a government-issued permission slip, not a suggestion, a right. And no, I don't care what some blue-haired bureaucrat with a sociology degree thinks about that. We live in a country where the IRS just bought $35 million in ammunition. The Department of Education owns shotguns. The USPS has tactical training centers. Meanwhile, they tell you that you're paranoid for wanting to carry pepper spray. Pepper spray, not even the good stuff. The Dollar Tree version that works if your attacker is severely allergic to cayenne. But let's be honest, this isn't about safety. It never was. This is about control. Control over who gets to respond to violence, who gets to survive, who gets to be afraid. And if the state can convince you that your safety is their job, congratulations. You've just outsourced the one thing that actually keeps you free. Because when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, assuming they even show up. Assuming your call doesn't go to voicemail. Assuming they're not out enforcing mask mandates on 5-year-olds or tackling Amish farmers selling raw milk. Oh, and before someone says, but what about the experts? You mean the same experts who let Epstein mysteriously unalive himself? The ones who lost $6 billion worth of weapons in Afghanistan but want you to register your hunting rifle? Yeah, let me take life advice from the DMV with nukes. Here's the truth they're afraid of. A society where the people are trained, disciplined, and armed is a society they cannot rule. They can only serve. And they hate that. They hate not being feared. That's why they demonize gun owners. That's why every time some lunatic commits violence, the media runs a full background check on every NRA member within a 200-mile radius. Oh look, this guy once liked a gun page on Facebook. Must be the problem. No, the problem is the guy who lit his manifesto on fire and walked into a school with a stolen gun. But sure, let's blame Bob in Nebraska, who keeps his .38 in a biometric safe and goes to bed at 9 p.m. Let's get real. You are your own first responder. The only thing between you and chaos is you, your mindset, your skill, and your willingness to stand up for yourself and your family. And if that makes you dangerous, good. We should be dangerous. In the words of Jordan Peterson, A harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control. But don't expect CNN to quote that. They're too busy running segments on how homeowners who stop intruders are the real threat. And by the way, they always say, nobody's coming for your guns. That's right, nobody's coming. They're regulating, registering, licensing, taxing, banning features, not firearms, just nibbling your rights to death like a swarm of bureaucratic piranhas. They won't raid your home tomorrow, they'll just make it illegal to carry today, or tomorrow, or only on even-numbered days when Mars is in retrograde. Unless you're Hunter Biden, in which case it's fine. He can lie on a gun form, drop the piece in a dumpster, and the DOJ goes, oopsie. Meanwhile, a single mother in Chicago buys a revolver because she got followed home from work, and she's facing jail time because she didn't file the right form. Justice, right? So train. Train because you don't want to use it. Train because you might have to. Train because the only thing worse than a government that wants you helpless is one that succeeds. Train because you love peace, and because the only way peace survives is if good people are ready to do bad things to bad people. And if that offends someone, good. Let them clutch their pearls and tweet about it from their kale-powered Tesla. Meanwhile, the rest of us will be over here training, thinking, watching, and refusing to beg permission to survive. Want to make a statement without saying a word? Head to forlibertyshop.com. We've got gear for people who still believe liberty is worth defending, and that looking good while doing it is just American. Because freedom isn't given, it's defended, and we're not asking. When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a redcoat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors. And trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com.